Good morning from Titania's realm, sacred space. The time is 11:29 a.m. on the 3rd of August 2025. This is my second attempt to make this video because the first one, my phone fell off and blipped us off. And anyway, I was going on about recent events. Last night I got robbed of money from my bank account, which is now under dispute and causing me a lot of distress because someone somehow got access to my card number and booked up things on Audible, and Audible treated me like I was the criminal trying to demand a refund when they clearly handed out their product to a thief. And I haven't had an account with them since 2018, so it's not rocket science to work out that I'm telling the truth when I say it wasn't me. By the gods. Anyway, they were so nasty and condescending, you know. I cancelled my Amazon Prime. You know, I hardly watch it anyway. I mainly watch Netflix. I'm not paying $10 a month to Amazon when Audible's a subsidiary of Amazon. I'm not supporting that company anymore. How dare they treat me like that? When I ring up and say, you've taken money from my account, I want that money returned ASAP. Oh, did they go round and round and round in circles? Even tried to bring, is it a family member? If you can give us the name, we can confirm if it's that person or not, but we can't tell you who in whose name it was done. It was just mental. I said the only reason I ever had an Audible account was because a family member was reading stories for you professionally, and she asked me to sign up so I could, you know, listen to the story that she'd participated in creating. Oh, really? Oh, I said, yes, and I stopped doing business with you because I didn't like your business practices, constantly harassing me to sign up for more and more and more. And so I cancelled. I haven't done business with you since 2018. And now you say, you know, now you've billed my bank account, which I don't even know how you got my card number, $357.18. It's outrageous, isn't it? And she condescendingly, oh, do you have an alias? Maybe it was another name you did that under. Like directly accusing me of being some kind of thief and con woman, trying to get money back from them after they've robbed my account. It was my account they robbed. Anyway, evil personified. I will not do business with them ever again. And I'm going on officially on YouTube telling you all, don't do business with them. They're crooks. Jeff Bezos and his staff are trained to make you look like a liar and a con person when you're trying to get your money that they stole from your account back. Anyway, I've left it up to the bank now, but I don't actually trust my own bank. Who hands out money? You know? They actually sent me in the middle of the night, 10:04 p.m, a notification. Did you ask for this transaction? No. And instead of like reversing it straight away, no, you've got to go through this whole dispute resolution thing. It can take 21 days. It's all a fucking scam and a targeting of the poor. It's put me on the back foot actually, because I've got $300 due to go out for my, you know, my Optus accounts, and you know, my insurance is due today, and my groceries I bought yesterday go out today. There's not enough funds left because of that theft from my account by Audible. It's outrageous. So what am I going to do about it? Read stories on YouTube because there's nothing more I can do about it. Just fought as hard as I can to get my money back. Didn't happen because they're liars and con artists and assholes actually. Oh, they were hot. That woman was so condescending to me. It's not that family member, maybe it's another family member. I don't have contact with my family members. And look, honestly, as much as, you know, we're estranged, my daughters would never steal money from my bank account. Ever. They know. They know what would happen if they did. The consequences would be dire. You just don't steal from someone who's already struggling and poor anyway. And there's no code of honour anymore. There's no code. Nobody's got any fucking code. I mean, you almost have to laugh, but it's not funny. It's not funny. Anyway, I'm going to continue on reading the story, Satan's Choice, and chapter 4, the title is Anger Mismanagement. I bit a chunk out of his arm. Lorne Campbell talking about competition during biker field day. Not exactly the actions of a man of couth either, but bikies do that sort of thing. Campbell's daughter Janice was 8 when he split with Eleanor in 1974 at age 26. Oh my goodness. That made Janice the same age that Campbell had been when his parents broke up. Yep, history repeats, same thing happened to me. I was 8 when my parents split up, and when I finally left my ex-husband, my daughters were 9 and 7. It's ironic, isn't it? I fought so hard to hold it all together and try and, at least for their sake, but I thought, we're miserable. We're miserable and we're slowly dying, and it's impacting on their, you know, forming brains, and I have to get us out. And anyway, whatever happened, it impacted on them. Everything impacts, and whether you stay or whether you go, it's a price you pay, whatever price you choose to pay. Here you go, you little Kumi boy. Aren't you lucky that you're an Indian ringneck birdie parrot and you don't have to worry about people stealing your money in the night, white collar theft through your bank account, and you don't have to worry about where your food comes from because mama provides? By the gods. The only good thing that I can say about this is it happened just before my pension's due to go in again on Tuesday. So hopefully I'll just survive this, just barely survive it. But it's going to be a tough couple of weeks till they give me that money back. Thieving bastards. Oh, I'm wild. Anyway, where were we? For most of his time with Eleanor, he had been out of the club, but he never really left the lifestyle. By the time the relationship ended, Campbell was back wearing a grinning devil patch on his back and living at the Choice Clubhouse on the 6th concession north of Oshawa. I don't know what they mean by on the 6th concession. Is it some kind of residential thing? I don't know. A modest Ontario-style cottage with tar paper siding on a semi-rural acreage. Since the days in the basement of Gendon's home, the clubhouse had shifted from a cleaned-up barn in tiny Nestleton to a downtown Oshawa house, and then to a century property outside Port Perry near Lake Scugog. Don't know how to pronounce that. My apologies to Canadian Native American tribal owners, because that's probably in your language. I don't know how to pronounce it. The closest neighbour on the 6th concession, again, don't know what that means exactly either, was the landlord, former pro wrestler Bill Stack, a Maple Leaf Wrestling regular, best known for unmasking the Red Demon. One evening, Campbell called Eleanor, and there was no answer. He drove to see her with no particular purpose in mind. He just felt a need to be there. Eleanor and Janice still weren't home when he arrived. He ordered a pizza and ate it alone. The next thing he knew, he was walking through the empty house they had once shared, cigarette lighter in hand, setting the curtains ablaze. It was as if he were watching another person. He crossed the street to his sister's house, where he sat in the kitchen by the front window as his former family home went up in flames. I watched the TV explode, go right through the front window and land on the lawn, Campbell says. I got a kick from it. I mean, he's just a giant fucking child, isn't he? Did he think about how that's going to impact on his kids? Not having a house and losing all their little possessions and clothes and the trauma of it? Do they ever think about things, these people? I guess not. Just in the moment, osmosing like squalid amoeba. Like the squalid amoeba that stole my money last night. Squad cars fanned out over the city in pursuit of the arsonist as Campbell watched firefighters quell the blaze. Eventually he crossed the street and walked up to the cop. I just said, "How you doing? I'm Lorne." When the cop realised whom he was talking to, he tried to draw his gun, but he was too nervous to get it out of the holster, fumbling with it like Don Knotts' Barney Fife character on the old Andy Griffith show. Then he tried to call in other police officers, but they were too busy hunting down Campbell to listen. Campbell stood by quietly with the nervous cop until he and his fellow officers sorted things out. Finally he screamed, "He's here! He's here!" He was scared shitless. Campbell told the cop that he hadn't originally set out to burn the house down and had only planned to get a pizza. The fumbling cop regained his nerves by that point. He said it must have been a bad pizza. Campbell could be glib about many things in his life, but he would profoundly regret his conduct during much of his time with Eleanor. I wasn't cruel to my daughter, but I was abusive to her mom. I was too nuts, too radical. She was just a beautiful mother and everything. I was too wild to settle down. I was abusive to her mentally and physically. It's not an excuse, but it's a learned behaviour from seeing how my dad treated my mother. You could break the chains though. You could have actually made an effort to just break that chain. But it is what it is. Long before he set the family home on fire, Campbell knew he had a serious problem. He wasn't worried about his habit of punching out other outlaw bikers. They all deserved it, in his opinion. What scared him was the thought of repeating the angry pattern of domestic abuse in his childhood home. From the age of 18, Campbell had sought out psychiatric and psychological counselling on his own, something he would continue for decades. I've seen at one point every single psychiatrist in Durham region. One psychiatrist nervously blinked and twitched as he sat at his desk and read Campbell's growing history of assaults. After what seemed like several minutes of watching him read and twitch, Campbell said, "I'm out of here," and got up and left. Another sign. Well, I guess what else could you do? So, twitching and being judgy isn't going to really help that much. None of it's going to help. Nothing can give him back his childhood or his mental health after all that brutality. Nothing. I still don't think you should go around burning your wife and kids' houses down though. Like, duh. But as he said, he felt like it was someone else, so he was probably in a fugue state at the time. Another psychiatrist diagnosed him as having phobic anxiety. Somehow Campbell's violence was linked to his need to be protective, and his deep anger was often misdirected against those he loved. He presented Campbell with what Campbell called his crazy papers, which spelled out this diagnosis. Campbell was told to present them to police officers or others, should the need arise. The psychiatric analysis may have provided fascinating reading, but it didn't really help Campbell cope with the violence. The first counsellor who really clicked with him said he wasn't going to waste time trying to catalogue the many possible causes of Campbell's deep anxiety. His speciality was relaxation therapy, which was considered cutting edge at the time. This approach appealed to Campbell because it sought definite results, not just interesting explanations and excuses. Campbell paraphrased the psychiatrist as saying, "It could be hundreds or thousands of reasons. Who gives a shit? Let's learn how to deal with it." Pragmatic, I like that. Pragmatic and on the ball. He found ways of getting Campbell to unwind, such as listening to a tape of running water. He gave me the key. Try to find out what your body's feeling. Learn how to deal with it. I said, it's not the rest of the world, it's me. It was a breakthrough, although not a total solution. Campbell only went to one more session and then felt he could start applying the doctor's teachings on his own. I was still violent after that, but more controlled. It took time. He gave me the key. I took about a year to learn how to relax with people. Campbell made a conscious and determined effort to face down his boyhood fears on his own, just as he had been taught by his father to confront problems head on. He suffered a phobia of heights, which he tackled by finding jobs as an ironworker repairing smokestacks. He addressed his deathly fear of spiders by purchasing a Mexican red-leg tarantula as large as his hand and holding it each day. Yeah, well, that's what's that called? Is it aversion therapy? Something like that. Yeah. Apparently they make very nice pets, tarantulas. I wouldn't want to own one. Not that I am all that terrified of spiders anymore, but I just think having some giant spider in the house would be a bit creepy for me. Besides, Kermie, you'd probably try and eat it, wouldn't you, Kermie? Yes, Mama T, I would. He had Mother McEwen of the choice that should be a comma. Tattoo a tarantula on his right calf along with 1% in 1974. It was a spur of the moment thing. The same year he had Eleanor's name covered with an eagle tattoo and inked a choice devil's head onto his left shoulder, with space to record each year he was in the club. I thought I'd be in for the rest of my life, for eternity. The pet tarantula died when he went to Thunder Bay for a couple of weeks and forgot to leave it water. Are you serious? Honestly. He would never learn to love spiders or even be comfortable with them, but by that time he at least had his arachnophobia in a tight mental box. He bought replacements for the dead spider, lest his fear well up again. Campbell remained fiercely competitive, always feeling the need to prove himself. This was never more obvious than during Satan's Choice field days near Kitchener, when members of different clubs came together to party and show off their bike riding skills. Yes, my love. Field day events included one in which bikers competed to see who could push a beer keg farthest with a motorcycle. There was also a hot dog race in which a woman riding on the back of a bike has to reach up and bite off a wiener dangling from a scaffold. Blame Canada. The wiener was made more slippery with mustard. Another event was called Pick Up Sticks, and it involved a biker cruising slowly in a circle with a passenger in the back riding side saddle. The passenger would scramble from the motorcycle to retrieve sticks thrown into the centre of the circle, and then jump back on the Harley. Whoever rode off with the most sticks won. It sounds simple, even gentle, like a Sunday school Easter egg hunt, but it was little more than a human cockfight. Campbell won the event against 24 other bikers by wearing spurs and kicking often and hard, like a rooster engaged in bloody combat. If Campbell couldn't win field day games himself, he helped fellow choice members defeat bikes from other clubs. In 1975, the Choice celebrated their 10th anniversary, which is how old I was in 1975, with a field day just short of Oshawa by the clubhouse. Campbell lined up for a drag race between Gindin, fresh from prison, and Bobo Gray of the Paradise Riders, spelt P-A-R-A-D-I-C-E. Campbell was riding his 1948 Panhead, while Gindin was also atop a Harley Davidson, a brand of motorcycle he loved so much that he named his own son Harley Davidson Gindin. Gindin was an excellent rider, but Gray's knobby tired, self-built racer brain damage made him the prohibitive pre-race favourite. Campbell deliberately crashed his bike into brain damage, taking Gray out and ensuring Gindin's victory. There was also the turkey race, which involved fighting to see who could pull off the biggest chunk of a freshly beheaded turkey and run to a finish line. Sorry, just having a little disassociate there, just drifting. I'm so tired. Well, I haven't been able to use my CPAP for 4 or 5 nights now. And yeah, I think I'm starting to miss that too, but just the way my lungs are, I feel like I'm going to choke in my sleep with the mask on, and so I've just taken a break while I recover over the worst. But I might have to put myself back on it tonight because I'm drifting. I'm drifting all over the place. Oh, poor Mama T. There was also the turkey race, which involved... Oh, no, I read that. This sounds simple, but it takes hours to rip apart a turkey. Awful. It had evolved from the chicken race, a much maligned contest in which live chickens were sacrificed. In the old chicken races, the competition began when a biker lowered his arm and contestants raced after the live birds. After a huge furor from the media and the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, racers now began the instant an axe swung down, beheading the turkey. Bikers were almost sacrificed as well. In one turkey race, Campbell pressed down on the neck of a member of the Detroit Outlaws as they fought for the same paltry chunk. Eventually, teenage Joe Ertel of the Satan's Choice pried Campbell off the motionless outlaw and threw him backwards. The outlaw was an odd shade of blue-grey, and Ertel shouted, "Look, he's dead. The guy's blue. His tongue's out." The outlaw was loaded onto a St. John's ambulance that had been hired for the event and was eventually revived through an emergency tracheotomy. So he literally crushed his bloody neck. Jesus. Over a game. Double Jesus. The near killing of the outlaw didn't quell Campbell's competitive juices at the field days. I knocked out 4 teeth from a particularly tough club member. If you're a biker, lose some teeth, you look too good. Years later, when he was 44, I mean, you have to laugh at that. It's not funny, but it's... You're not a real man unless you look completely bloody broken. Anyway, that's their mentality. Years later, when he was 44, Campbell competed in a field day against a boxer who was almost half his age. I bit a chunk out of his arm. I thought, this 25-year-old, he's not going to win. I've been fighting all my life. He had no hard feelings. He lived to fight again. Trying not to laugh. The only race that couldn't be mastered by trickery or extreme violence was the slow race. That thieving bastard that took my money during the night and caused me so much stress during the night when I was already sick. I hope some bastard bites an enormous chunk out of their arm. Literally. The only race that couldn't be mastered by trickery or extreme violence was the slow race in which bikers deliberately rode their motorcycles as slowly as possible. I never won the slow race. My mind would never slow down enough. They camped out in tents for the anniversary field day. And one morning Campbell had a rude awakening. Bill, Mr. Bill, Lavoie, Jungle and others had tied a rope to his legs while he was sleeping and fastened it to Mr. Bill's Harley. Campbell's wake-up call that morning was the unfamiliar sensation of bouncing across a field. I was being pulled at 30 miles an hour over grass. It was in retaliation because I was bugging people for days. I couldn't sit up. They stopped before the gravel road. I thought, I'll fucking shoot him if they drag me on the road. As the new version of the Satan's Choice Motorcycle Club wheeled into its second decade, it developed a certain amount of structure, almost despite itself. Members drafted a national constitution, which filled just one page. It had 9 rules, mostly about crests, tattoos, and bikes. 1. Every member must have a bike over 650cc in running condition. No Jap scrap, etc. 2. Any club wishing to strike for SCMC must hand in one set of colours for each recognised chapter and wear corresponding chapters' side flashes. Striking clubs must strike for a minimum of 3 officers' meetings and pay $100 to their sponsoring chapter. Individuals wishing to strike must strike for a minimum of 6 weeks. There must be a 75% vote for rules to be passed or changed at an officers' meeting. New rules must be proposed, then taken back to individual chapters for members' votes, then returned to an officers' meeting. Any chapter not represented will lose its vote. 4. If a chapter misses 2 consecutive officers' meetings or 3 in a year, its vote is automatically called. Excuses will be considered and left to the President's discretion as to whether it shall remain a chapter. 5. All new presidents must have 12 or more months in the club, excluding ex-members. All other officers' positions are left up to chapter discretion. 6. Any Satan's Choice chapter folding must appear at an officers' meeting with a complete explanation, colours, all club property and bills paid. 7. Any members leaving the club must have tattoos dated or disfigured. 8. After 5 years, a member of the SCMC in good standing may become an honorary member with the approval of his chapter and then the approval of the officers at an officers' meeting, 75%. Honorary members couldn't vote but could attend club parties and other events. 9. Any member found to be using a needle for the purpose of shooting anything will be automatically expelled from the club. I like that one the best. Life at the farmhouse on the 6th concession was bucolic, in a bikerish way. Campbell had a new girlfriend who was a frequent visitor and nature lover after a fashion. We used to screw under the willow tree. At one, you have to laugh. At one club meeting, Oshawa chapter president Peter Rabbit Pillman was visibly upset as he spoke of a complaint from their landlord, Bill Stack. Just been shown an image in my mind's eye of that broken mother of pearl, the herons, that I managed to save the pieces. Spirit just showed me to inlay it into my piece of ebony and turn it into a pendant, and I might actually do that. I was planning on inlaying it into my cutlery canteen, but such beautiful pieces of mother of pearl. I think I will wear it, then I can wear it. Yeah, I might actually do that. So thank you, Spirit, for showing me that image in my mind's eye while I'm reading to my YouTube audience, while I'm exhausted out of my mind and dizzy and woozy, bing bam boom, these little epiphanies flash into my mind. It just yelled out, "You get your money back too. I bloody better." Or I will single-handedly destroy that company. I'm not sure how I'll go about it, but I've put it up on social media, on Facebook and Instagram, what they did to me as well. It's just nasty. Pillman got his nickname more for his enthusiastic appreciation of women than for any resemblance to the Beatrix Potter character. "Someone's fornicating on the front lawn and Bill don't want that," Peter Rabbit announced. You know, Peter doesn't know what fornicating means," a member piped up. "It's too big a word. Peter, do you know what fornicating means?" Peter Rabbit didn't miss a beat. "No, I don't, but I want it stopped." That's hilarious. Apparently, Campbell and his girlfriend had been ratted out by members of a family who boarded their houses in a nearby stable and who went for weekend rides together. Campbell saved Peter Rabbit from further aggravation by speaking up. "Peter, it's me," Campbell said. "Fornicating is fucking, and I'll stop." And thus concludes Chapter 4, Anger Mismanagement. That was a short chapter. We're only 42 minutes in. Should we go to the next chapter as well and do 2? Yeah, why not? How long is the next one? It's another shortish one too. So we're good. Chapter 5, Friend for Life. They're not innocent people. They were aware of the consequences. I was totally without remorse. They chose to be in this world. Lorne Campbell on collecting drug debts. At club parties, Campbell and Gendon always seemed to be the first to get up and grab partners and dance. That's how it was at a party held by Doug Chiclet MacDonald, president of the Toronto chapter. Campbell soon found himself guiding Kay Foot around the floor. It was a slow dance, but nothing grinding or disrespectful. Kay was the old lady of someone in the club, not some anonymous splasher, and Campbell treated her accordingly. Damn straight. Don't mess with someone else's old lady, or the Tanya either. When the tune was over, club striker John Foot walked over and punched his wife Kay in the face, ignoring Campbell altogether. Oh, that's nasty. It was just a dance. Campbell was shocked and primed to defend her when MacDonald stepped in and pulled him back. Lorne, this is normal for them, Chiclet MacDonald said. Kay wasn't screaming or crying, didn't seem particularly upset. Nah, he's probably got a really sharp knife all primed, ready for him one dark night when he's snoozing in bed and thought he got away with it. It's the only way to end those kind of disputes. Audible. Can you hear me? Audible. Jeff Bezos, who's rich enough already without having to extort money from disability pensioners who don't even have an account with your Audible. Consider yourself your throat cut. A technological equivalent anyway. You've just lost $120 a year I was paying for your Prime TV, which is getting more and more bored with anyway, so not going to miss much. $120 a year I've saved myself. What does that buy me in? Not much. Not really in all that much, but it's a matter of principle. A matter of goddamn principle. Better in my pocket than in theirs. Extorting money from innocent people. Right. It was almost as if she expected to be hit. Campbell looked towards Foot and saw no anger in his face. When Foot turned to Campbell, his tone was matter-of-fact. He said, "No hard feelings, that's just the way we are." Fucking psychopath. Campbell later concluded that Foot must be a sadist and his wife a masochist. It was a match made nowhere close to heaven, but they both seemed fine with it. I wouldn't be bloody fine with it. Not fine at all. The incident didn't even appear to be that big a deal for Foot. He clearly had other things on his mind that evening. He had already heard of Campbell's ability with his fists, and he said, "Lorne, with my strength and your fighting ability, we can make a lot of money." He was referring to the profits to be made in the ever-expanding trade of underworld debt collection. The commission was 50% of any unpaid debt they managed to recover. Not long after that, Foot gave Campbell visual proof of what he meant. Within 2 or 3 weeks, he brought down $40,000 to the Oshawa clubhouse. Foot wasn't just good at collecting money owed by street drug dealers to their suppliers. He was also heavily into drug rip-offs, which were planned robberies of drug dealers. On the upside, there were crimes for which the victims could be counted on not to call the police. On the downside, there were also crimes in which the targets were hardcore criminals who could be expected to fight back. What you doing, little boy? You can come out and play? Yeah, Kirby's out. Go and get Bo, Kirby. Go bring Bo out. Foot lived in an apartment at 399 Markham Road in Scarborough on the 11th floor of a high-rise, just down the hall from the temporary clubhouse of the Choices Toronto chapter. The old Toronto clubhouse had burned down, and these were the club's temporary digs. Wonder who burnt that one down. Let me guess. Foot's apartment wasn't in his name, but it was clearly his place, and he had customised it in the same way bikers personalised their Harleys. The front door of the Foot's apartment was heavily reinforced and backed with sliding steel bars on a hinge. The walls of the front hallway were painted black so that anyone peering in the peephole could see nothing. Razor wire ringed the balcony in case anyone felt like climbing up or dropping down from a higher apartment. The choice clubhouse down the hallway was easy pickings by comparison, with just a regular lock and nothing protecting the balcony. One of Foot's 2 bedrooms was set up as a motorcycle chop shop for dismantling the motorcycles that he stole. He limited his thefts to Harleys as if they were the only bikes worth stealing. He would get them up to his apartment through the main elevator and then wheel them into his place as if this was part of a normal workday. Campbell wasn't a motorcycle thief himself, except when he thought a bike needed liberating from a particularly bad owner. Once, a biker couldn't control his chopper and asked Campbell to ride it back to Toronto for him from Northern Ontario. Campbell obliged, but then kept on riding once he reached the big city. He also would accept Harleys to settle debts, but in his books that didn't count as theft either. I've never stolen one, never would. I've done a lot of things that might not make sense, but I wouldn't steal one. For tax purposes, Foot ran a business that involved painting murals on the walls of muffler shops. Okay. But by the time Campbell met him, he had settled into the role of full-time gangster. Foot was the undisputed master of the "don't fuck with me" expression, squinting hard and talking out of the corner of his mouth like a character from a James Cagney movie. He'd pinch the front of his mouth tightly shut and squeeze out words from the sides so that no one could read his lips. Sometimes the tough effect was heightened by the presence of a cigarette stuck in his mouth. Maybe this was a trick he'd learned while serving time in Texas and Michigan prisons after he'd got in a shootout with police. Or maybe he picked it up from the movies. Or perhaps that was just the way he always talked. Whatever the case, no one knew and no one was asking. I think he misses how I used to open the top up, but after that nearly crashed on top of him and killed him the other week, I don't want to use it anymore. There were plenty of things you didn't ask John Foot. You certainly didn't push him about the rumour, never proven in court, that he shot a prowler dead and drove around for a time with the corpse in the trunk of his car, looking for an appropriate final resting place, as you kind of would. I don't do any of these things, but you can see that I find them inspiring. Wow, comes a time in your life when enough is enough. I haven't had any prowlers for a long time though. I've got poles strategically positioned all around the garden, and I just, I wouldn't recommend it. It would not be a good idea, prowling around at night in my garden. It was better just to leave that story alone, since it certainly wasn't beyond the realm of possibility that there was always room in his trunk for another body. He was a very tough, serious individual, feared by many. Foot didn't take up a lot of space, but he radiated power, as if he was a much bigger man jammed into a 5'9" frame. He set weightlifting records in US prison and could do repetitions on the bench press at 350 pounds. Strength is impressive, but it is often explosiveness that separates the good from the great in physical pursuits. Despite club rules against needle use, Foot liked to inject liquid speed into his veins for an added boost. Foot also had ingenuity. On the job, he packed a sawed-off 16-gauge shotgun that fit neatly into a quick-draw holster he designed himself. He also built guns, including palm-sized double-barreled shotgun pistols that sprayed out wide so they could disable but not kill several people at a time. Some of his personal arsenal was hidden inside walls of his apartment, stored away for whenever he might need them. While working, Foot eschewed the flashy, attention-grabbing jewellery of many in his milieu, preferring a businesslike appearance in a suit and trench coat. Sometimes, when he was trying to keep a particularly low profile, he would dye his hair and comb it differently. He was indefatigable. No matter how he looked, Foot displayed a sphinx-like countenance, betraying little emotion. As Campbell got to know him, he could detect a slight shift in his new friend's appearance when he was on the verge of violence. If Foot smiled at you, be scared. Others in the club certainly learned to take him seriously even before he got full member status. Full members sometimes kidded probationary members that they were going to strip them of their patches and demote them back to civilian status. I wonder if Jeff Bezos, whose staff members stole my money last night, I wonder if he's on the Epstein file list. Everything's connected, people of Earth. Everything. Fucking everything. Taking a leaf out of Foot's book here. I'm coming for ya. Give me back my money. I wouldn't be surprised. No, that's paranoid. Haven't heard from those people in many years. That's verging on paranoia, Tanya. Pull it back. Calm your farm, Tanya. Deal with the facts. Combank and Audible 10:04 p.m. $357.18. Audible US. Some Yankee Doodle Dandy extracted my money. Or they used that platform to extract my money. My money that I have so little of and that I struggle to get together. Took the last of my money. You're going to die, motherfuckers. The metaphorical equivalent of dying. If I even knew who it was and I could find them, seriously, there probably would be violence. Yes, my government watches everything on my YouTube videos. They know how I bang on about things. They also know I've been in therapy for 30 years and it's all just talk. One day, it won't be just talk though, because I'm done with your bullshit, people of Earth. Those of you indulging in these nasty little tactics. I'm done. I was done 55 years ago. But here we go, another day in paradise. Others in the club certainly learned to take him seriously even before he got full member status. Full members sometimes kidded probationary members that they were going to strip them of their patches and demote them back to civilian status. Established members made the mistake of trying that joke with Foot before he got his full membership patch. John had 4 or 5 members against the wall with a handgun pointed at them. When the Vice President came down, he said, "Tell these guys they ain't taking my striker patch." They didn't. When Foot stalked drug dealers, he'd find those in the low end of the drug trade often flashing their wealth and bragging about their business. They were as sloppy as Foot was relentless. In the drug world, people talk. Campbell heard that Foot had once gone to a residence in Toronto to tip off some drug dealers, only to find that half a dozen police officers had arrived just before him. He caught the cops by surprise, handcuffing them together at gunpoint. He then proceeded to rip off the drug traffickers as planned and left with the loot, as well as the cops' guns. Not long after that, he placed a call to the officers' detachment. "I'm John Foot and you're looking for me," he announced. "I've got 6 handguns of your police. You're looking for them." The stunned officer on the phone professed ignorance. "Okay, then I'm keeping them," Foot said. He was never charged for ripping off the dealers of their money or relieving the police of their guns. I wonder what snivelling little, snorting little, slathering piece of pus that has my $357 was getting high on last night. You dirty low-life scum motherfucker. Well, you better re-deviate that septum, I mean, because I have a curse on you, motherfucker. Right, it's only 300. Is it worth curse? Now, tell me, people of Earth, is it worth cursing someone for $357 when it was the last of your money and you were going to get yourself out of debt with that? Is it worth it? Let me think about it. Well, we'll see what the Commonwealth Bank does, won't we? If they don't get my money back, I'm going to close that bank down. They should not have given that money out in the night. They're thieves too. I will close my bank account and I don't know. You can't trust any of the dirty motherfuckers. This is the problem. That's why I prefer to pay cash for everything. Have money in. The one fucking time I actually had a bit of money in my account, and they do that. Like, are you serious? Are you fucking serious? Right. I'll repeat that sentence. He was never charged for ripping off the dealers of their money or relieving the police of their guns. Shortly afterwards, however, he was pulled over by police and beaten. When they were beating him, he was laughing. He was a pretty neat guy. Still wrapping my head around that. Foot was 5 years older than Campbell and treated him as an understudy of sorts. Yes, my love. Campbell quickly came to regard him as a solid friend whose loyalty was beyond question. Like Foot, Campbell didn't feel bad about putting fear into people when collecting drug debts. Speaking of putting fear into people, he's going to stir up my little bow, isn't he? What you doing, Kermie? I collected money for people. I just look at it like they were playing the game. They're not innocent people. They were aware of the consequences. I was totally without remorse. They chose to be in this world. Foot sometimes spoke to Campbell about fear and how it was their worst enemy. He wasn't talking about their own fear. He was talking about the fear that often consumed their targets when they showed up to collect money. Such money could drive men to do dangerous things. That connected with another key lesson from Foot. If things went sour, there was no point in beating someone up just a little bit. If I give a guy a shot, he may come back with a gun. If I beat him senseless and break a couple of bones, he ain't coming back. It's just human nature. When attempting to collect drug money, Foot and Campbell often had to determine if they were dealing with someone who was just acting crazy or someone who was truly nuts. I always thought, if someone's going to be crazy, I'm going to be crazier. That's not the same as insane. Let me just see. I need a drink, people. Floating. I'm floating. I treat them differently. If they're crazy, I'm 2 times as crazy. I hurt them so they'll never come back to me. I've always got along with crazy people, but insane people, you handle them altogether differently. You have to do one thing or the other. Kill them or walk away from them. I'm nervous about insane people. Foot and Campbell both felt at home with violence. Breaking the fingers of someone who was tardy in his debt repayment wasn't a problem, nor was more serious violence. My heart's never pumped any faster when I fought or was involved in gunplay, but I have fear for people around me. I worry about the people who are close to me being hurt, my loved ones and my friends. They also both felt a certain professional pride in their chosen trade as drug debt collectors. They already had been threatened by the time I got to them. I would hurt people, and they always paid. I would hurt them first. It was people who were always making excuses, running away. I used to say, there ain't nobody I can't find. When people used to try to intimidate me, I'd say, that's my game. To find missing debtors, Campbell would go to bars and houses where he expected to find friends of his prey. I'd beat up their friends, their drug dealers, drug addicts. After a while, I'd just walk in and they'd tell me right away. Campbell and Foot also both accepted that spending time in jail went along with their line of work. Time with Foot in the Whitby jail and an assault beef was a fresh experience for Campbell, although he was already accustomed to jail. It was as though they were the ones with the power, even though they were on the wrong side of the bars. That came across once when a guard tried to bully Foot, blaming him for the loss of a pillow. What do you think I did? Foot asked. Shoved it up my ass? The guard declined to speculate or give Foot another pillow. Other prisoners, including Campbell, managed to secure one for Foot anyway. They also got a light bulb. They crushed half of it down to a powder and poured it into a pot of tea the guard routinely drank from. He drank it and didn't come to work for 2 weeks. When he came back, he wouldn't say fuck all. He just stared at us. We smiled at him. Campbell was driving on November 4, 1976, to the Kitchener Choice Clubhouse on Weber Street, where he had been partying regularly. I actually thought you died if you ate glass. I guess he was lucky it was all powdered and didn't grind too much on the insides of his stomach, but in his bowels, and but the bleeding and the pain, and probably ended up in hospital if he was gone for 2 weeks. By the gods. But don't fuck with people and you're not gonna suck on your own glass. I mean, I can see there's a kind of a justice in that. I hate bullies too. Hate them. Man, if I started grinding glass for all the bullies I ever encountered in my lifetime, whole of fucking Byron Bay Beach would be used in it. Horrible thought though, isn't it? How much bullying I've endured. Anyway, those dirty motherfuckers last night better give me back my money. By the way, my psychiatrist is watching this because I gave him permission to watch my videos. I don't know if he watches every one, but if he's watching this one, he'll be like, oh, Tanya's angry today. Tanya's defiant today. Tanya's quite bordering on a kind of a psychosis today. Tanya's livid today. It's all right. I have a session on Wednesday, Joe. Campbell was driving on November 4th, 1976. I was 11 and a half. At the Kitchener Choice Clubhouse on Weber Street, where he had been partying regularly. The news came on his car radio that his friend John Foot had been shot to death at 4:40 that morning in the Markham Road Clubhouse apartment. 'Twas as though Campbell was shot too. I was supposed to be with him that night. I heard it on the radio. John Foot was just shot and killed. My head hit the steering wheel and I turned around and went right back to Toronto. I really believe that if I had been there, it wouldn't have happened. It was just a fear thing. Fear can be your worst enemy. If someone's scared of you in that world, you could be shot because of their fear. There were 3 bullets in Foot's body and Campbell had no doubts about who put them there. Foot had argued earlier that night with a 23-year-old clubmate named John Harvey, a surgeon's son. Harvey had the unsettling habit of scaring people with his pistol in the evening and forgetting all about it by morning, by which time the Valium he often took had worn off. Tells me a lot about his surgeon father though, doesn't it? Relying on Valium and being a member of a biker clubhouse. Must have been a right bastard to him. In one incident, he levelled his pistol, which had a notorious hair trigger, at member Jeff Boom Boom McLeod's head for what felt like an eternity before he was finally convinced to put it back in his shoulder holster. All he had to do was twitch and Jeff would have had half his head blown off. It was scary. Was he joking? Who knows? On the final evening of Foot's life, things escalated to the point that he whacked Harvey with a pool cue. Harvey left the clubhouse and Campbell was certain he'd returned with his pistol. Ironically, there was a good chance that it was Foot himself who had modified the handgun to make it even more sensitive. It was just like Foot's warning. It was the fear of other people you had to worry about. Who else would have gotten close enough to Footy? Who would he open the door for? Campbell was out on probation for the arson of his home at the time of Foot's funeral. His probation officer chewed him out for attending the service, which meant he'd violated the conditions that stated he couldn't associate with clubmates. "It was my best friend, and I went to his funeral," Campbell told him. "Go fuck yourself." "You don't care about anything, do you?" the officer asked. "No," Campbell replied. Oddly, Harvey didn't appear to realise what he had done. A heavy Valium user, he seemed oblivious to the fact that he'd hired the fatal shots, even though he was eventually convicted of manslaughter. The funeral was a blur, and Campbell didn't say much to anyone. He just kept his eyes on Harvey. I watched him all through the funeral. I was a pallbearer, and I was so upset I couldn't grab onto the casket. Foot's death made Campbell think a lot, but he didn't consider leaving the club. Instead, he sewed a patch on his vest over his heart that read, "In memory of John Foot." Campbell now understood why Foot tried to teach him about preparedness. From his death, I really learned that saying, "Fear is your worst enemy." In anyone else's lifestyle, it wouldn't make any sense. But it did make sense in mine. It was a guy who feared him, who shot Foot. In other words, be prepared. In the end, Harvey was killed by a drug overdose, dead from his own demons. The passing of John Foot meant Campbell was now collecting drug debts alone. Campbell was just as serious as his mentor. "If I died at that point, don't feel bad for me because I was playing the game." Naturally, he took it seriously when the club's president, Peter Rabbit Pillman, told him in the mid-70s that he had been ripped off by a young biker named Sean Robinson. Campbell stuffed a sawed-off shotgun into Robinson's mouth, making it clear he expected the money to be paid promptly. The gun was rammed in so hard Robinson's cheeks popped out like a chipmunk's. The next day, Robinson rode up to Campbell's place to renew the discussion. Robinson looked clearly whipped, but he felt compelled to talk nonetheless. Campbell had the sawed-off shotgun to guarantee himself the last word in the conversation. "What do you want?" Campbell asked. "I came up here to tell you that you were wrong yesterday." Robinson protested that he had paid the money to a third party who was supposed to deliver it to Peter Rabbit. "Who was it?" Campbell demanded. "I can't tell you, but you'll find out," Robinson replied. Campbell was impressed that Robinson had the balls to approach him. He was further impressed that Robinson refused to rat anyone out when he removed the shotgun from his mouth. That was a solid, if dangerous, thing to do. It took balls. I was nobody to be fucked with. Campbell asked around and determined that Robinson was telling the truth. Robinson had paid Peter Rabbit's money to a third party who took off to Florida with it, making Robinson look like the crook. When the third party returned to Durham region, minus the money but sporting a suntan, Campbell hauled him into the Cadillac Hotel by the CPR tracks, just north of Highway 401 on Simcoe Street South. When it was built in the early 1950s, that's correct. When it was built in the early 1950s, it was considered the place to be by movers and shakers, but by Campbell's time, it was known by a new generation of patrons as a bucket of blood. Campbell worked there as a bouncer, and the Cadillac doubled as an office of sorts for him. I bet him so badly, I put him in hospital. 2 weeks after the beating, Campbell heard that the man had committed suicide. I didn't have any bad feeling over it, didn't feel any remorse. Good for him. He killed himself. He was a cheat, a scam artist, always dressed in a suit, just a guy out for himself. Although you could look at it, the poor motherfucker gets this drug payment, thinks, oh well, fuck it, I'll have a nice holiday in Florida, blows all the money probably on wine, women and song and cheap tricks or what have you, and probably did a bit of drugs or whatever, comes back, gets caught, gets beaten up and thinks, what's the point? Couldn't even have one nice little fucking holiday. So he tops himself. I get it. I get it. I get it. Well, not that I've ever gone on holiday with stolen money. I would never do anything like that. That's why I don't go anywhere. I'm too bloody fucking honest. I'm honest, but I get robbed by assholes on the internet. You dirty motherfuckers. Doesn't pay to be honest. I won't be leaving money lying around in my bank account ever again either. It will either be spent or I'll be investing it in other ways. Won't be in the bank. There's proof you can't trust the dirty motherfuckers. Hand your money over to crooks instantaneously, and then you got to fight to get it back. While decent people like me struggle every day to get by, put food on our table. That's how we're treated. Anyway, as for Robinson, Campbell grew to consider him a valued friend. He was one of my favourite guys in the club. He's true blue. He's been time tested. As he rose up through the ranks of the Satan's Choice, Campbell harboured a particular fantasy. He dreamed of the day he would meet up again with the supervisor from the training school in Coburg, the one with the rings who used to beat him. When that day came, Campbell was 28 years old, weighing a solid 185 pounds on a compact 10'10" frame, and had earned a fearsome reputation for his ability to settle scores and collect debts with baseballs, bats, pistols, and the hard, precise punches excuse me. He had learned at the hands of his father. Campbell was leaving the British Hotel in Coburg around last call with fellow Satan's Choice member Brian Babs Babcock, and didn't recognise the supervisor at first. The British was the type of place that gave run-down dumps a bad reputation, and Campbell was a weekend regular, best known for pounding out its patrons. He bet up so many of them that Bill, Mr. Boulevard, asked him to ease up a little. Then quit sending stupid people to my table, Campbell replied. Kind of get that too, by the gods. That night, the former training school supervisor looked like a shriveled old man, even though he must have only been in his late 30s. He and a buddy were obviously drunk, and it was clear from his puffy grey face and bloated body that getting piss drunk was part of his daily routine. His eyes were glassy, he had just wet his pants, and he leaned on his friend to keep from falling over. You know who that is walking in front of us? Babcock asked. Who? That's Montgomery from the training school. Yes, my boy. Another cup of Marlene tea, Jew, I think. Yes, my boy. Babcock had known Montgomery from around town and recognised the face. As Campbell watched the man stagger across the hotel parking lot, he remembered the feel of the drunk's ring-covered fingers on his face. Montgomery didn't recognise Campbell. He was having a hard enough time just making it across the parking lot. It was a pathetic sight, Campbell said. He was a drunk, and he died of cirrhosis of the liver shortly afterwards. If he was in better shape, I would have beaten him up right there. But I just smiled at him. Dead man walking. You always know. You always know, people of Earth. It is what it is. Alright, my darlings, that's the end of chapter 4 and 5. And I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day. And yes, I was going to say I want to sit out in the sun, but it's just too bloody windy. It's a cold wind. So not the way my lungs are today. So I'll be good and I'll stay warm with my beautiful boys. Look at you up there, Mr. Kermy boy. You happy boy? You are, aren't you? You're a beautiful boy. Bo's a beautiful boy too. Hello, little baby bum. Hello, little baby bum. Yes. Perks up when I talk to him. All right, my darlings. Blessed be from sacred space. Stay cool. Stay happy. Remember, never let the bastards grind you down.